Welcome to the Rebel Fitness Podcast, episode number 32. Today we're going to be talking about freedom. What does freedom mean to you? I've got a very specific definition of it, but maybe you've got one too.
Well, let's do yours first then. Since you are clearly ready to talk today.
Okay. My definition of freedom does not mean that you do whatever you want whenever you want. Like I think we often have a very spoiled kid definition of freedom. Like, well, I don't have any freedom. It's like, ugh. And then there's the overwrought freedom ain't free type of freedom where it's all about killing other people to have your freedom. I think my definition of freedom is.
Sorry.
I didn't say you could move. I'm just kidding. I'll change the focus a little bit, but that's okay.
That's all right.
My definition of freedom is being free to be yourself no matter the consequences or the situation. So, or even being free to not be yourself, but still making the conscious decision for it.
There you go.
So basically it's whenever I make a decision that's not one that I made of my own will and my own accord and was okay, this is how I'm going to act. And instead make a decision out of fear or what if I act this way, people will judge me. That is where I think freedom is lost.
Okay. Yeah, my sense of my definition or my feelings about freedom are pretty similar. It's the knowing yourself well enough to make conscious decisions on a regular basis and to be able to not constantly, or not constantly, that's not the word I want, unconsciously make decisions or abdicate decisions because you're just not aware.
Yeah.
Can you give an example? Because I have one if you don't. So my example is that we've talked about a lot of the conscious decisions that you and I both have made in our lives to live a certain kind of way that feels more natural to us. But I find, and I think we've talked about it, but not in the context we're talking today, that in certain circumstances, I revert to old behaviors without even thinking about it. For instance, when I go back to my hometown to visit with my family, for a funeral or a wedding or whatever, I suddenly forget all the experiences I've had since I lived there. I eat the same. I defer to other people's opinions. I become a child again, a real child, and it's crazy. And I don't like it. I can now go back to my hometown in not a big family situation, and it's not the same. I can go home for my class reunions. I'm still myself. But family events, I tend to just become Cindy Joe. Which for those of you who don't know, that's what in fact, I still like that name, but that's what I was called when I was a kid. My brothers and sisters, well, maybe not my sister, but my brothers still call me Cindy Joe. And I turn into that little girl, even though I'm 57 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's, I was telling you the other day, I don't know if there's anything to be done about that, especially if the way you act is not the way that you want to act. Because chances are that the other person plays an integral role in making you behave like that. So unless they're going to change too, it's going to be very difficult. That's going to be an uphill battle every single time.
Yeah, I think you're right. At least I know that I can make more conscious decisions when I'm not in that setting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, what made you, I know that you've been thinking about this topic for several days and we wanted to do a podcast about it. So what brought that up? And
I can't remember now. There was a good reason, a very specific thing that happened, but I can't remember what it is.
Was it part of your playlist experience? This weekend? Because you came back all hyped up about.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was something about your playlist experience.
Well, I remember I was talking me and Andrew have a very similar problem, which is we always feel like the hammer is about to come down on us. And I was just thinking about that, but it was like, oh, I remember now. Well, no, this is not related exactly. But I will, just quick side note, I've been living with you for the past year and a half. And it was weird because it finally occurred to me. I was like, oh, I've made a lot of strides. A lot of the strides that I've made have been because I've been living with you. Because you can reinforce each other's model of life.
Yeah.
Right? If you're always around somebody who's complaining, if you're always around somebody who's just like got a very negative view on everything and is just like, they're never going to change. You are going to fall into line with them, or they're going to fall into line with you. And it usually depends on who's got like the, not power position, but the one who would traditionally be the role model. Like if it's your parent, for instance.
Yeah.
The parent, it's like, doesn't matter how old you are. The parent is going to be the one that will take charge of that situation and be the dominant force in the conversation. The parent's never going to defer to the child. Maybe there's some parents like that, but in my experience, that is not the case. But anyway, I feel like I've made a lot of strides because I've been living with you, and you have a much more, the way you live your life is much more akin to the way I would like to live my life compared to the people I've lived with in the past. But just as far as the experience this weekend, I don't remember exactly what the freedom part was. Oh yeah, okay. So we were going to talk to random people, right? Like you wanted to go after the panels, we'd go up and we'd talk to the speakers and stuff like that. In the past, I'd have this hesitance to do it. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I can't do that. It's like, they're gonna be like, why are you talking to me? And it's like a fear, something I'd be scared of doing. Just like public speaking would be something somebody would be scared of doing, or talking to strangers or whatever. And that is the opposite of freedom to me, because the way that I want to act around other people is to be able to talk to whoever I'm talking to as if they're my best friend. Like I think a lot of people might say that, no, that's just not something I want. And like, good for you. Like, totally. Like, I don't mean that in a sarcastic way. I actually mean like, good. I'm glad that you feel that way, if you really feel that way. But for me, not being myself around every single person physically causes me discomfort. And it makes me be like, I'm not being myself right now. And it really bothers me. So I just was noticing this weekend that I finally have achieved quite a bit of that freedom.
Oh, good.
When it comes to talking to people. Like, I was talking to just random people we met. And just immediately, rather than trying to say what I thought they would want me to say, I was just like, oh, I'm just going to say what I say. That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, and I think that is a journey we've both been on. And I think you might have hit the nail on the head as far as maybe not the best way, although I think it probably is, but certainly the easiest way to make changes in your life is to surround yourself with circumstances, including the people that you're around, that will model the kind of behavior that you want. But more importantly, or just as importantly, is that we have to be conscious about it. So I model that behavior, or you modeled behavior, and then we talk about it. And we go, okay, let's help cement that memory. I remember, I can't remember if I read it or someone told me, but that children can't form memories, really strong memories, unless their experiences are rehashed and digested, which is how sometimes their memories are not exactly what happened or the tone of it. Like, the child may have had a great time, but the parents discussed it later in a negative way. Then the child remembers it in a negative way because that's how their memory was set. That you and I can't remember exactly where I heard it, may or may not be true, but I do think as an adult now, I'm modeling behavior, or you're modeling it, we're for each other, but we're very conscious of it, and then can say, oh, I had this experience, I liked it, let me share it with you, and it gets cemented. It gets easier and easier. The second part of that is that whoever is your model, and many people are your model all the time, but it feels like to me that my model has to be totally accepting of, or indifferent almost, to whether I accept their modeled behavior. You know, they can't judge me for not following it. They can't, or if they do make me feel in any way that I've not lived up to their expectations, it stunts that growth for me. So the people that I have been most influenced in a positive way are people who were kind of like you. Good on you. I'm so happy for you that you've made this decision. Not how I would do it, but I'm really happy for you that you've made a conscious decision to live your life a certain way. There are certainly lots of things that you and I do that do not match each other's lives at all. Clearly. But we don't try to force each other. I'm the parent, but you're an adult now. We are contemporaries pretty much now. The fact that we do things differently is fine. And I think that if everyone had people who were supporting them along their growth, emotionally, physically, everything, in a non-judgmental way, not taking personal offense that they didn't grow into the same kind of person that you are, it would be a lot better for most people.
Mm-hmm. So I think another part of freedom for me is not having to tell a story, and like just being able to tell the truth about whatever it is. So there's actually another example from this weekend. So we were waiting in this big line of cars to park at the convention center, but it was going to be $20 to pay for parking there anyway. So we were like looking around, couldn't find a parking spot. And then there's another hotel a little ways back. And I was like, well, I guess let's try here and see if we can find somewhere to park and then walk to the convention center. So we park, and then I find this guy who looks like a security guard or parking officer. Okay. And I go, is there anywhere I can like pay to park? And he's like, are you a guest at this hotel? And I go, nope. I just told the truth. Like, I was like, no, let's not try to like lie our way into this. And he just goes, okay, well, you should be all right. And I go, so I can just leave my car out there? He goes, you should be all right. And I was like, well, the truth will set you free. Here's the interesting thing though. That is not what I would have normally done most of my life. I would have tried to lie my way into it, and
try to figure out what would make it work so that he would say, yes, you could leave your car there.
And oh God, I'll get into this in a second. But so then the next day though, we go to park and we're like, okay, well now we're definitely okay because we just talked to the guy. But then there's another security guard looking dude like checking cars. So I'm like, okay, well they must be checking cars. So I asked the guy, I was like, is it okay to park here? And he goes, which hotel are you a guest at? Now this is a very subtle question because the last time he said, are you a hotel guest? And I said, no. But this time he gave me a very simple out. He was like, are you a hotel guest of that one over there or this one? So I go, that one. And it was just like so automatic to lie. And
flat out lie.
Yeah, just to straight up lie. And he's like, oh, okay, well, no problem. You can park here. And I was like, damn it. Because I really want to get away from that. I want to deal with whatever consequence there is, but I want the freedom to be the type of person I want to be. I was talking to somebody about war today, okay? Mm-hmm. So somebody invades our homeland, which I guess is the U.S., right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people would be like, okay, I'm going to fight to the death. This is my homeland. That's the only time I would actually fight a war. And I totally respect that, and I totally get it. But I think for me, it's like, I'm not going to let I would rather not live on this planet than to have to live on a planet where I had to kill somebody in order to go on living. Like, it's just, that goes so against what I am about. And like, it's so incredibly boring to me that people think that war is something that solves problems. Like, it's so boring to me. It's like, what do you do every day? Like, what do you actually do every single day? Because I really want to know, because if you have to just be bored out of your mind to think that something like that could solve a problem. There's so many millions of, like, even like, go do drugs or something. Like go do LSD, have a psychedelic experience. There is a million other things that you could be doing other than killing people, and that's what you think solves problems.
Yeah. And I totally respect that. And in theory, I completely agree. I believe in a one-on-one situation. Someone tries to kill you, my guess is you will fight back.
Oh, well, self-defense, like if it's actually there. But like say they announced war tomorrow. So we're invading the U.S. Like, well, I'm going to go escape to the forest and I'm going to live out my days, my last week or two, because I don't know how to hunt. I don't know how to forage. I'm going to live out my last week pretending like I know how, and then I'm going to die of starvation.
Yeah. And I think that's you probably will do that. Or at least you'll try to.
I'll try,
until someone follows you and tries to kill you, and then you will try to kill them back. But hopefully that will never happen.
Right.
But this is a little bit of a tangent, but we were talking about it just the other day that I'm in complete agreement with that, because there is only one thing that changes. The only way to fight darkness is with light. The only way to fight hatred is with love. That's it. You can't add more hate. You can't add more violence to stop violence. It has never worked in the history of human beings.
Yeah, it's like a fire is burning your hand. And you're like, ow, I'm going to burn you back.
Yeah, exactly. Or, oh, my hand was burned. Well, let me add a little bit of more heat to see if that will make it feel better.
Yeah.
No, it won't. I go into a dark room and I go, oh, I better shut my eyes so I can see. No, that won't work. You have to put some light on it. Yes, that is very theoretical. And yes, it is very easy for me to say when I've not had my country invaded while I'm been alive.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
that's a very
I've
good
never
point,
experienced it.
Let me take it out of the theoretical, because you could argue that until the cows come home, and I could totally see myself fighting a war. Like I could totally see myself, like when push comes to shove, if somebody came to invade, I'd be like, okay, F this. It's like, I'm about to, the thing's about to go down. But let's take it out of the theoretical real quick and just put it into the practical, the actual reality of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Which is that, let's use lying for instance. People say, oh, well, you just can't, the world goes round with white lies. I refuse to accept that anymore. Somebody has to be willing to take the fall and to get burned by just telling the truth.
Yes.
Okay? Because I understand that white lies are never meant to hurt somebody. They're meant to protect people. But the truth of the matter is that we have to just start telling the truth to each other, because that's the only way we're going to actually really have an interaction with another person and have a life where we're not scheming like little animals.
Yeah, I think that the absurdity of thinking that you are having a connection with someone, that you are really having an interpersonal interaction, but one or both of you are telling little white lies, to think that you are connecting in that circumstances is absurd. It's totally, it's nonsensical. We've talked about before, like when you date someone or you have a first date or you whatever, if you pretend at all, first of all, you might not make a connection anyway. But if you do make a connection, or you think so,
You're
or they fell in love with you, but it wasn't you. It was some character that you made up for them. So either you have to continue to be that character for the rest of your life, or you have to break up with that person, when in reality, had you both been yourselves, here's the things I like. Here's the things I'm willing to compromise on. Here are the things I'm not willing to compromise on. Here's this, here's that. Tell me all about you. What do you like? What do you do? What are your opinions on this? And you tell your honest truth. You let yourselves be seen. You might make a fabulous connection. It might be a romantic one. It might not be. It might be just a friend. Or you might not make any connection at all, and you can just look at each other and go, wow, that was a great conversation. See ya.
And it's just like the parking, actually. It's you only tell the lies when you feel like you have something to lose.
Exactly.
So like I told that lie because I was like, well, shit, we're not going to have a parking space if I don't tell this lie.
Yeah. So it was convenient for you. It got you what you wanted. No one lies when they don't want something from the lie.
Right.
You only lie to protect yourself. So if you can, accept the consequences of the truth, which if everybody did, that would be really helpful. Just, accept the consequences, particularly in the circumstances when you don't really know what the consequences are.
Right.
You could have said to that guy, yeah, I'm really in that one over there, but we parked here yesterday. The guy said it was okay. And do you mind? Is it okay? He might have said.
Brilliance. Yeah. See, it's like those type of things I never thought of. I've told this story before about cutting in line. I told it on the vlog, but I cut in line at customs and then they berated me the whole time. And I was like, I deserve it. I didn't even ask. I just cut in line and it was just like, what am I doing, man? That's not the person that I want to be. Speaking of being the person that you want to be, I was thinking about this the other day. There's just no time to waste anymore. You know what I mean? Like and not anymore, but just in the sense that don't waste your time.
Yeah. This is your life right now.
It's right now. Like there's never going to be a point where you're just like, okay, yeah, I'm finally living. No, it's right now. Like literally as these sound waves are hitting your eardrums, this is your life right now. Like, you're not going to take some lesson from this podcast and be like, okay, now I can live my life. You're already living it. There's no time to waste. So if there's something you've really been putting off, you got to turn this off right now. Whatever else we say doesn't matter at all. That's probably more important than what we're talking about. Let me give you an example. So this is what my mind used to work like. And there's plenty of traces of it all the time because it still crosses my mind. Just I don't act on everything that crosses my mind. I meet this guy. So Andrew's in one of the panels over the weekend and I was doing something else. And then I was talking to some random guy in the hallway. So then I was like, okay, well, I'll see you later. Went to the panel that Andrew was at. I get there. Andrew's like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. So he goes to the bathroom. Then this dude I was just talking to comes in and sits right next to me. So he's like, oh, I have a familiar face. I'll go sit down next to this panel. The panelists are talking and we're sitting there. And the first thing that popped my mind was, oh man, now this guy's here. Cause I was already thinking, this panel's not useful to us. We're going to leave as soon as Andrew comes back from the bathroom. But the first thing that popped in my mind was, oh man, now this guy, he needs me to sit here for the rest of this because he found somebody that he knows, all this blah, blah, blah. And I said, what? That's ridiculous. Okay, you don't know this guy. You don't know what he needs or doesn't need. You know what you need. You go and act what you need. You're not hurting him. So as soon as Andrew got back, I was like, we're getting out of here. And I said to him, hey man, it was good meeting you again. We're getting out of here. Enjoy the panel. And we left.
Yeah.
Haven't thought about it besides the times that I've told you about it. But I thought that was such a good illustration of like this scheming. I can't be the only one who schemes like that.
No, you are not, honey. You're definitely not.
Well, actually, no. There's whole sitcoms and stuff about it. Like
exactly.
Text messaging strategy. Text messaging strategy. I would rather die than do it ever again.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
No, it's like, okay, what does this mean? She didn't text me until like 5 hours later. Oh, and she said this. Do you think that she likes me? You think should I send this text? I'm like, you should go kill yourself. I'm just kidding. But that's what I feel like when I do it myself.
Yeah,
I'm like, what am I doing, man? Just tell the freaking truth and just let the consequences be.
What we end up doing when you do that kind of strategizing, whether it's texting or writing a letter or talking to a person, is you are trying to prevent. In fact, you're just trying to control them. You're trying to prevent them from having a reaction that you don't want them to have. So you don't even give them the opportunity. You don't give you say, oh, well, I'm not going to say that because I don't want them to say this.
That's exactly
it.
That's exactly it.
Instead of saying what you really mean and finding out what they actually will say, you might be right. They might say, well, you're an idiot and I don't want to have anything to do with you. Good that you found that out.
Yeah, it's like, you'd be like, that's really what we should be doing. Instead, we take it personally. Like, there's the classic example of like, okay, so there was this set of videos and I can't remember what it was called, but it was somebody wrote a book. It's about millennials and about like the struggles of millennials or whatever. It said in kind of a tongue-in-cheek way, but one of them is that there's this woman and she's on her phone and the text message is like, oh, are you ready to go out on Friday? And it's like, yeah, we're going to go out on Friday. It's going to be awesome, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, so what time are you coming tonight? And she's sitting there and it looks like she's at the office, right? And she's got kind of a struggled, pained look on her face. And she's like, oh, what am I going to do? So finally she says, oh, my a-hole boss is making me work late. Sorry, I got to bail on you. I owe you one. And then the other person goes, oh, that's too bad, blah, blah, blah. Then it goes to a wide shot. And she's actually in her pajamas on her couch. And then she gets this relaxed look on her face, puts the phone down, and then eats some ice cream while she watches TV. How did it get to the point where not going to somebody's party is seen as a insult to that person?
It's a personal affront. Well, everything is taken personally. And we're taught to do it from a very young age. It's not like we have bad characters or something. It takes you either have to have been trained growing up, or somewhere along the line you have decided that your truth in any given circumstances is more important than trying to control somebody else's behavior. And I alluded to it just a minute ago, but the truth of the matter is when you lie to someone about anything, you are trying to control their behavior.
Right.
Period. And if you think you're non-controlling and you ever lie, you are lying to yourself about what your character is. But we all do it. So for your sanity, I remember my mom used to always say, and I think she got it from her mom or her dad or somebody, it was like, if you tell the truth, you do not have to remember what you said.
That is so
right?
true.
So if you tell your truth, how you really feel at any given moment, that's really what it is. I have the friend, I'm sure I've said this story before, who if you call and you say, would you like to go do this or that? And she'll go, no, I don't really want to do that today. She has no problem. And the first time she did that, and I didn't know her very well, I was like so impressed. I was like, she didn't say, no, I got things to do, or no, I've worked really hard today, or, I've got, what? She made no excuse. She made no story. Nope, don't want to do that, which was the question that I'd asked. And I was not offended. I was like overly impressed. It might have been when I started trying to be as clear. I'll even sometimes in my mind, I'll go, well, I could say this, or I could say I got that. No, I can say no. They ask me if I want to.
That's a good point. Yeah. They actually asked you. They said, do you want to do this? Like,
no is a perfectly acceptable answer.
No is perfectly acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's everything we talk about kind of weaves into each other, but truth and freedom, I think, are very closely related.
So closely linked.
Like if you want to feel free, and I want to feel free so badly, I want to stop lying. I've actually been talking to somebody recently, and every time I talk to them, sometimes I'll be like, oh, maybe I should try to say this to impress them. And I go, nope. Nope. There's a couple things you're not going to do. One, you're not going to strategize and say things that you think will impress them. And two, you're not going to censor yourself from things that you actually think to try and prevent trying to keep your image like pristine. It's like, no. Like, you can think everybody has an opinion about everybody else, okay? Like, whatever it's based on. Like, I have kind of an interesting thing going where I've got a vlog. Like, the people who are watching this YouTube video right now, they know me through those heavily edited videos that I put online. It's surprising how much it's me, like, on those videos. Like, you can attest to that. It's pretty much just me.
That's you.
But there's a whole bunch of other things. Like, I curse all the time. I don't curse in those vlogs because I want to appeal to as many people as possible. Even that, in a way, I'm kind of like struggling with. I'm like, that's not telling the whole truth. But it's a little different because with the vlog, I can choose to show you the parts that I want to choose. But that's where the freedom comes in again, is I have chosen that. It's not like I've just been like, no, I'm not going to.
Well, there's another aspect too, and that is that you don't put a false image of yourself there.
Oh,
you never do that. There's nothing. I've not seen anything on there that go, that's not him. You know, that'd be ludicrous. And so you have taken that. I think it's your practice. It's your yoga. It's your yoga of learning the freedom of being yourself all the time. And it's, as a parent, it's awesome to watch. For me, to watch you learn your craft, practice your craft, and practice the stuff every day that you want to do. No, you don't have to show your whole self to every person that you interact with. But whatever you do show them has to be you.
Right.
It can't be something that you've imagined that they want you to be.
Right.
It can't be some fake thing that you think will get the end result. Now, if there's a part of you you don't show to everybody, but you do think this person wants to hear that part of you or will accept that part of you, or you just need them to know that part of you, then you've got to show it. You got to show it. You can't, let's say, for instance, you start dating. It's possible that while you're dating this person, when you first meet them, you probably won't curse a lot, just because it's probably not how you would feel. You might not have the need to.
Right.
But if you do, great. But eventually that will come out in your relationship. It is not dishonest. I don't even think it'll occur to you. You have much more important things about yourself that you want to express and share. That is such a minor part of your personality. It's ludicrous to think that not doing that when you first meet someone is somehow dishonest. You can't. It'd be nice if you could mind meld and get your whole personality uploaded
your
and go,
whole
okay,
story,
you like this or you
personality.
don't like it, and you get theirs and you can judge everything. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I guess that's not. I don't even think we necessarily want that, because I think that's half the fun is learning somebody.
Yeah.
But I think that's the big thing, is you actually have to learn the real person, and you be your real person so they can learn the real person too.
And you have to acknowledge that as time goes by, you change and so do they. So you have got to be open to letting them grow and learning them new every day. I think I've told you about my Ingrid, who says,
who are you going to be today?
Yeah, I am so excited this morning to learn who you are today. And then she and her husband say that to each other every morning to remind themselves that as time goes by, they are not the same. They've been together for many years. Who they were, 30 or 40 years ago is not who they are today. Many of the disappointments that people have is, I thought you were like this. Well, honey, I was. I'm just not
I've
now.
changed, yeah.
I'm just not now. And that freedom to grow in the way that you grow and not have to apologize for it. Maybe you grow apart. Maybe you don't. Maybe you encourage each other to go, be the new people that you are every day. But it's that the ultimate freedom in the world is to be what's inside and let it out. And I feel safe to say that because I believe deep down everyone's core is love and light. And kindness. There may be things that are keeping that from happening at any given moment, but I think the ultimate freedom is to be yourself all the time.
So let's talk practical. How do you start to achieve that? Because we're working on it, but it's not like we're 100% there at all.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
And particularly the sticky issue is relationships you already have established.
Yeah.
Especially ones for a long time, and especially romantic ones. Those are impossible to change.
Yeah. Well,
and not impossible,
They're not impossible. Yeah. I'm going to talk about your dad. Because we had a romantic relationship. We have 2 children. We had a horrible divorce. We had several years that we were, really not very nice to one another. And I will take equal blame for that. We were not. And at some point, it switched into a much more respectful kind of relationship. And there were certain things, but we made a conscious decision when your brother got married. He called and said, I cannot have you arguing at my wedding. I can't have any tension at my wedding between you two. And I said, don't worry, I'll call your dad. I call your dad and I say basically that. And he goes, well, good, I'm getting tired of hating you anyway. And from that point forward, we have worked very hard to have a cordial relationship because we have children and grandchildren together. And that relationship changed over time, but it was intentional. It took a point in time. And I think to become yourself all the time, you can't do it all at once, but you can pick little bits of it and decide to practice it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was like, that's where you can start at. Like Neil Donald Walsh talks about the levels of truth. But like that first level of truth, tell the truth about yourself to yourself. That's like the best place to start. Whatever you're doing, just at least acknowledge it. Don't rationalize in your head. You can rationalize out loud all you want. And like the classic example is the party one. If you're going to make up an excuse for why you're not going to the party, at least in your head say, I just don't feel like going. I bet it's going to be stupid, or I feel scared to go because I'm socially awkward.
Yeah.
Boom. But you've told the truth to yourself, and that automatically frees up so much of your energy.
Yeah, it does. It allows you to either examine your fear, change your mind, or just go, nope, scared,
That's
not
what I'm
doing
doing right now.
I have a very tangible thing, but it's not really about telling the truth. But your brother went to Kings Island for a senior trip. Gets all the way through the roller coaster line and says, nope, scared, not doing it. Doesn't go. His friends go. They get all get off. They're laughing, they're smiling, they're squealing, you know, and so he's like, I should have done that. So he and some friends go back through the line. He says he has, didn't tell the truth, says he has a foot injury, and can they go to the front of the line? They get all the way to the front of the line. They're getting ready to get on because they let him go ahead so they didn't have to wait in line. Get to the thing, and he goes, nope, scared, not doing it.
What? When was this? His high school?
High school senior trip. And it's actually a story that I tell because I'm very proud of him for that. He didn't want to do it. He did not get peer pressured into do it. For a moment, he thought he did. No, didn't want to do it. And he stuck with it. Of course, then he went to Brazil and was doing like hang gliding and all kinds of stuff. But, I think he got over that kind of fear.
Yeah.
He's much more adventuresome. But at that point in his time, in his life, I don't know if he ever made a conscious decision. I've not talked with him about it to be more adventuresome, but he has become, much different than he was in high school. That ability to say, not in the presence of his classmates and people in line, and twice to be able to go, I am scared to do this. I am not doing it. Don't want to do it. It doesn't look entertaining to me. Not doing it.
That's impressive.
It is very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too that he tried to go through with it twice. Well, that kind of lost my train of thought. I kind of feel like we covered all the bases though, but basically just, freedom is being able to do the things that it doesn't free you up from having to do the things that you must do. So it just allows you to do the things you want to do. So like freedom is not, I don't have to do my job anymore.
No.
Well, I mean, you actually do have that freedom, but if you want the money that you're making from the job, you got to keep doing it.
Your truth can be, I will accept the consequences of not having any money and not being able to find a good place to live and have food by not working. But that's a truth you can decide. There are certain things I suppose you can't really decide not to do or to do. Like you can't just decide that you want your neighbor to be dead and go shoot them. Right. That's not freedom. And that's the extreme that everybody says, well, if everybody were free, they'd just kill each other. Well, first of all, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I have no desire to kill anybody. Even in my angriest times, I've never, that's not true. I did actually feel like killing somebody once.
Maybe you shouldn't mention that out loud.
But it only passed through my brain for a minute,
okay.
or two.
Well, I just think it's I think the loss of freedom to where you can't say if you're not hurting anybody, right? Like for me, the loss of freedom almost always was just like a social thing, right? It's I want to go talk to these people. I want to go do this, but I feel embarrassed. I want to wear this, but I feel embarrassed. That is the type of loss of freedom that I cannot stand.
Yeah.
And I cannot abide happening.
It's one of the things we were trying to help people in the studio, and we've succeeded on with many people, is to help them develop the freedom to move, whether they think they're a good dancer or not, or think they're coordinated or not. And for many people, it's still a struggle. For most people who have come through here, they came, they tried it, they were totally accepted, not just by you and me, but by our students. We preach is probably not the right word, but we set a tone of non-judgment here. But there are still people who come who are like, don't watch me, or I promise I'll learn it. I'm like, honey, I don't care if you learn it or not. You do not have to. If you're having a good time, even if you're not having a good time, but you want to keep doing it, great. I'm never going to care whether you do what I want. I will expose you to all the stuff I know. I will try to be the best teacher I can, but I have no personal interest in making you do what I'm doing. In fact, I have a anti-interest in that. I really want to promote that you have the freedom to move in any way you want in my space.
This is not exactly related, but I forgot. Me and Andrew kept talking about this quote from Mad Men. So Don Draper, the main character, is in an elevator with one of his peons, his subordinate. And his subordinate is like chastising him about something, and Don's just like, okay, whatever. And then the peon is like, I feel sorry for you. And then Don Draper walks out of the elevator and he goes, I don't think about you at all. And it's such a cold, like devastating line to the peon. But in reality, that's kind of how you should approach a lot of the things that you don't like. It's like, why are you thinking about that?
Yeah.
Like, why are you concerned with that person's behavior at all?
Why, you say, you tell this story, I saw this person do that, or I experienced this. Unless you're trying to help someone learn a lesson or help yourself learn a lesson, and I'm using the microphone with my hand gesture. Sorry, I don't know if you're picking it up or not.
I don't know either.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't make any sense, especially in those what somebody else is doing or thinking as it relates to you. It's like that quote from the Anthony DeMello book, Awareness, and it's like, what other people think about you is none of your business.
Yeah.
Period. You should be able to be free to interact with them or not, but in the way that you want to do it. If it's not going to be your real self, at least make a decision. You know what? I'm going to go in. I'm going to act like I'm this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go play that character, but don't pretend like it's you.
Yeah.
It isn't. Yeah. I don't know why I got so excited about that. All right.
Yeah, I think that's good. Any closing thoughts on freedom?
Well, I think it's our general closing thought, which is it's all a practice. It's all a process. Yeah. Nobody's there. We're not there. One of the reasons we do the podcast is so that we can get better at the things we say we all ought to do. Yeah. And this is just another one of those. Pick some little thing. If this is a goal for yourself, is to become more free by being more truthful in your interactions, then pick something small, something that you lie about, or some behavior that you exhibit that's not really you, that you're not comfortable, but you do it all the time anyway, and you'd like to change that. Just do that one, but share it with someone who can't, especially if it's somebody who models not doing that. Get some reinforcement, but do it a little, don't try to change your whole life at once. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I think
it's not for me.
That's a different topic, but yeah, I actually think that a lot of the problem with the self-help books is they make you feel like you can just change immediately. Nothing in my life has ever been immediate like that. Falling in love, yes. That's the only one that I can think of.
Falling into attachment.
Falling into attachment. There you go. What was I going to say? I got to say it. I got to remember it. Something to do with freedom. Oh, yeah. Whatever you do, if you want to get a little bit of freedom, especially if you feel like it's a situation where you're not free to be yourself, make the conscious decision about what's happening. Take your job, for instance. If you're doing a job that you hate and you're like, oh God, I hate this job, I don't feel free. Make the decision. It's like, no, like I could quit at any time. I'm going to make the decision that I hate this job, but I'm going to keep doing it for now.
Yeah.
Just make the decision.
And stop beating yourself up about it.
Yeah. Put the power back in your own hands. Be like, yes, this is what I'm doing, man. Like last night, me and Brennan were playing video games and I ate some chicken nuggets, but it was funny because he goes, I felt like I had to confess that for some reason. But he goes, oh man, I ate way too much junk food and I drank too much, but I'm going to own that. No, I can't remember what he said exactly. He said, but I accept the consequences of my actions and I regret nothing. Oh, he said, I'm going to feel like crap tomorrow. He said, but I accept the consequences of my actions and I regret nothing. And I think that's what it is you accept what you're doing, acknowledge it, it's just a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Put the mindset back in yours and just be like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not doing that. And I don't feel bad about it. And this is just the way it is right now. And that's fine.
Yeah. I think the key is that like when you eat too much or you drink, you know what the result's going to be.
Right.
And it's a little easier to accept the consequences. It's those instances when you don't know. Like when you say to the parking guy, I'm not really staying in your hotel, when he asks. You don't really know. He might have said, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But he probably, you felt like he wouldn't, so you lied about it.
Right.
When you meet a pretty girl and you want to say something to her, but you think that she won't like that, so you say something else that you didn't really mean. She didn't like it anyway.
Yeah, she didn't like it anyways. She's never liked it. Okay, we got to end the episode.
Yeah, I got to go teach class.
Good talking with you.
You too.
We'll see you next week.
All right.
Or many weeks from now, maybe.
Bye.